There are many grizzly bear populations in BC, and more than half of them are considered threatened. Now, a group of scientists, conservationists, and advocates say they're concerned about how the province is planning to protect those bears. So far, the first draft of the plan calls for the creation of a local stewardship committee, which would oversee management of grizzly populations, with no details yet on how exactly it's going to work. So joining us from Nanaimo this morning with his thoughts is Brian Faulkner. He's the director of the Protecting Coastal Carnivores program at Raincoast Conservation. Good morning.
Good morning, Anne-Marie.
What about the idea of placing the responsibility for grizzly populations in the hands of the stewardship committees concerns you?
Well, it's a really important process. There's no question that this is a very needed kind of reset or readjustment of the objectives of grizzly bear conservation. It's an important document, and it will guide grizzly bear policy for decades to come.
We reached out to the BC Ministry of Forests about the concerns that are raised around their framework, specifically the potential of revived trophy hunting. Here's what they had to say. The focus of the grizzly bear stewardship framework is about broader grizzly bear stewardship principles, not hunting. The purpose of the framework and strategy is to engage with First Nations, scientists, and the public on supporting grizzly bears and their habitat. So the public can now weigh in, give its feedback on their framework until the end of the month via a questionnaire on the website. But where do you feel this framework falls short?
Well, there's a number of places that it falls short. Obviously, the ministry has said that this is not about hunting and not solely about hunting, and that's true. There's a lot of really good things in this stewardship plan, but it's very long on identifying problems and very short on identifying solutions. There's very, very little in it. It identifies human-induced mortality as the major number one threat to grizzly bears, but doesn't do anything to essentially eliminate the possibility of that, recurring licensed hunt, particularly in local regional areas where, local stewardship plans, there's nothing in the framework that would prevent that. It identifies habitat loss and fragmentation as the second biggest threat, but it doesn't do anything to constructively work towards preventing habitat loss and preventing the rest of those endangered populations or the rest of the healthy populations becoming endangered. It really, really doesn't address the importance of top predators. Grizzly bears are an umbrella species, and it doesn't take into account all of their contributions in the ecosystem. It's very, very short on that. A big gain was, considering it a stewardship plan as opposed to a management plan, but the document is still full of management speak, and particularly with the role of grizzly bears, and that will influence a lot of the policies in the future, including around trophy hunting.
We mentioned off the top that they're not considered threatened. Right now, grizzlies are designated as a special concern by the federal government, meaning that they're considered a species that are particularly sensitive to human activities or natural events, but are not endangered or threatened species. But scientists have been calling for many years for grizzlies to be given a more serious classification. How would that help to conserve the grizzly population? What would it change?
Well, one of the problems is that, with the grizzly bear management units, there are 55 of them in British Columbia. There are a lot of them, if you look through the stewardship framework, are labeled dark green and of no or very little conservation concern. That's problematic because, what we tend to do is ignore any kind of efforts until a population is threatened or highly endangered, and then we take extraordinary measures to save the last few. When you're looking at a population that is as wide-ranging as grizzly bears, you need a strategy and a plan that includes all of them, and that means that there are certain principles that have to be entrenched across all of those population units, whether they're healthy or not. An example of that would be hunting, because a population is not threatened at this moment because it's a healthy population. Does that mean that, we're going to wind up building all the roads and doing all of the things that will send them down on that slide,
Right.
that slow slide to extinction?
Right. Brian, listen, I appreciate you coming on. I enjoyed our conversation, enjoyed an opportunity to see those beautiful pictures of bears in the wild. And we also appreciate you getting up very early for us from Nanaimo. Thanks for being here.
No problem. It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.